Falcon BMS is not for everyone. While DCS and Falcon BMS share similarities, they cater to fundamentally different player mindsets and gameplay experiences, which is why there are so many disagreements. I am simply attempting to open the mind of players and explain the differences other than just gameplay between the two sims. If you're new to the channel, I create Falcon BMS videos and tutorials covering mission tactics and system fundamentals. This video includes my personal opinions based on my observations. They may be true for some, but not for all. This is a generalization to uncover something important regarding Falcon BMS and DCS. I cannot cover everything, but I will cover the key topics that I would like to talk about. If graphics is the one thing that is stopping users from playing BMS, then BMS might not be for them. But if they're willing to get over that graphics does not mean more realistic, then that is progress. I will be going over the mindset between the two sims, the expectation between the two, gameplay, content, money, and then at the end, I'll explain my final thoughts. First, I'm going to talk about the mindset. There is a different mindset between the two sims. Some might not see it, but it is definitely there. I know that both have a variety of mindsets, but there is definitely a target audience that is different. DCS has more of a get in and start shooting with the interactive training, graphics that captivate you from the moment that you get into the cockpit. DCS constantly comes out with new modules and aircraft to maintain the interest of the customers. BMS, on the other hand, is nowhere close to the price point, and in comparison of the $10 US, the software is basically free, and it is focused not on nearly as many aircraft. The aircraft it focuses on is the F-16 and the F-15. To be fair, there are other aircraft to fly, but they do not have the playability and system detail as the others. Mindset in BMS can be summarized in two words: proficiency and profundity. The mindset of DCS could be diversity and phenomenal visuals. Expectations. DCS players expect something quick and fast, wanting to learn aircraft in a single afternoon, with chuck guides and 60-second video tutorials. DCS even has those interactive training missions that highlight exactly what you need to press. I 100% agree that is the best way to learn, but BMS just does not have that right now. I am sure everyone has a certain feeling when someone states they have only played War Thunder, Call of Duty, or Microsoft Flight Simulator. There is definitely an automatic stigma with those games. The same goes for DCS and BMS. It is okay to have that stigma to an extent because it could lead to a better way to teach that person how to learn and improve. As for BMS, quick and easy is not as common, especially if you're just starting out and learning. The manuals are the primary source of information in BMS. There are a ton of pages and hours of videos to watch to get the hang of things. Even then, you will not learn the tribal knowledge that you can only learn while playing with others and gaining the experience to make tactical decisions. It will take some time to know how to lead a flight. It will also take some time to learn the SAMs, and it will take some time to work as a team. This all can be said about DCS, but it's a different aspect when it comes to the SAMs, the systems, the user interface that comes with the two sims, and other things that don't quite transfer to BMS. BMS players have played BMS for years and aren't as interested in flying something new, especially if it costs money. Therefore, they would rather be skilled in one aircraft and develop teamwork tactics and put them to the test in an organized mission. Gameplay. BMS multiplayer mission gameplay can be explained if you would not do it in real life. It's probably not a good idea to do it in BMS. 90% of the gameplay in BMS are organized multiplayer missions. They have one life, and if you get shot down, that is it. You're done. No respawning. Also, there is not a way to land and reload your weapons. Friendly fire is devastating, to say the least. Plenty of ways to not hit a friendly. IFF, targeting pod, AWACS, your eyeballs, RWR, and now Link 16. There is absolutely no excuse. Nothing is worse than listening to a brief for 40 minutes and then getting shot down by a friendly 15 minutes into the flight. The only thing is to hope that the person that shot you down says sorry, and doesn't just say, well, I shot down 6 MiGs. The F-16 in BMS has a better flight model than the F-16 in DCS, and that's just a fact. Systems are more complete, and Link 16 is way ahead of DCS right now. In DCS, all this could be the same, but the majority of the gameplay in DCS is different. It is more of airquake. By getting into a server, flying into the action, getting shot at or shot down, and landing to reload weapons and start over. In BMS, it's usually one single mission. You take off, you go out there, you come back, you land, you debrief. BMS has single-player campaign missions as well, but it's not as popular as DCS missions that you could purchase for campaigns. I'm sure there are plenty of organized missions, but that is definitely not the majority of gameplay that DCS players play. In BMS, when it comes to multiplayer, there isn't a server listing where everyone can just join. Usually squadrons have a scheduled time when they fly and run a server during those flights, and then it goes off after the flight is done. There are a few Discords that have 24/7 servers where anyone can join at any time. They always have the option to coordinate with other players and play all at the same time. During multiplayer briefings, they have the ability to be longer and more complex because of the 2D screen that allows for better utilization of resources, being able to see what threats are out there, along with creating threat circles and target points that you are wanting to attack. Content. DCS has multiple servers, PvP, player versus player, and PvE, player versus environment. It also has campaign missions that you could pay for or that are free. All of these are great ways to play, but there are countless times where I read or see that content in DCS is stale, and that it's a sandbox with nothing really to do. Even with all this content, players are still bored until another aircraft module or maps comes out, resetting the clock. Squadrons have SOPs, standard operating procedures, that are used to cut down on briefing time and use check rides to better understand the skill of the pilots. The dynamic campaign is what is talked about very often. If you don't know what that is, Google Falcon BMS Dynamic Campaign. It is a mode where you can create missions and the environment changes around you based on logic and strategic reasoning that is automatically done by the campaign engine, creating enemy flights and SAMs. In BMS, there's also a way to create custom missions called Tactical Engagement. It is similar to the DCS mission editor. In comparison to creating missions in DCS and BMS, I think that BMS is simpler because a majority of it is automated. When it comes to placing steer points, the speeds, times, frequencies, link 16, and even the population of downrange targets. In a nutshell, basically you right-click where you want to attack, choose the airfield you want to take off from, the aircraft, and how many, and finally your mission. However, there might not be as much freedom or customization when it compared to DCS, but the important part is to be flying, not spending days trying to perfect a path of ground targets and hoping that all the triggers activate accordingly to plan. Now when it comes to money, DCS is free, but all of the modules and maps you have to pay for. Thank goodness it's a one-time payment. However, having all the modules and being able to fly everything doesn't make it more fun. It just takes up more of your time and money. I don't have a statistic, but I know there are aircraft that are neglected after a while of owning them. BMS, it's about $10 US, only because you need to purchase Falcon 4.0 for licensing purposes, and then install the BMS mod. BMS has a ton of things for a fraction of the price of a DCS module. BMS is a small team that develop it for fun. They do not have income for BMS, and they work on it in their spare time. That is the primary reason why updates may take a little bit longer than DCS. Here are my final thoughts. As you may know, I play BMS. I have DCS, but it is very hard for me to play more than a few hours, because I wish I was playing BMS. About 99% of the time, I am flying the F-16 in both sims. The reason why it's hard for me to play it in DCS is because it is not to the standards I am used to when playing BMS, especially when it comes up to the RWR. While it may seem daunting at first and confusing because you're used to something else, the payoff in realism and satisfaction is unparalleled. But if that is something you're not looking for, then BMS is not for you. It's about building the foundation and understanding the nuances and gradually understanding Falcon BMS. It will take some time. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I will be happy to read all of them, and I'll see you next time.
Cobra 3-1, good splash on that mud in.
Copy that.
You got a target?
Cobra 3, come close.
3 has them, but having a hard time burning through them.
Okay, yeah, 3, yeah, 3, you got the target. I think I can get him. Box 3, bullseye, 295, 73, cranking left.
Alright, did you get the... Alright, I'm gonna get the one on the left.
I think I shot the one on the left.
Okay, so those again.
Yeah, on the left one, got the left one.
Alright, Fox 3, the one on the right. Cranking left.
Pitbull out. Pitbull out left.
Stinger 15.